What's up guys, Gray here, welcome back. In today's video we have the final evolution of one of my favorite Void Warlock builds of all time. Now I know I just recently did a Void Warlock build on the channel, but this is a build that I've been evolving season over season, and it all revolves around Handheld Supernova, and with the changes to Void 3.0, I think it's finally reached its final form. We're going to dive right into it. This build is stronger than ever and it's a ton of fun. But before we get into it, gotta give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video. Raid Shadow Legends is a free-to-play mobile game that is packed with content. It is commonly referred to as the greatest mobile game of all time, and for good reason. There are over 600 champions to collect and fight with in turn-based strategy combat. All of the champions come from unique factions, each with their own history in the world of Teleria. Today we're taking a look at the Orcs. Orcs usually get a bad rap when it comes to fantasy games, but in Raid Shadow Legends, they have their reasons for being who they are, and they're mostly just trying to survive. They find a new alliance with Queen Eva of the Elves, but there may be more to their alliance than meets the eye, and you're gonna have to play through the new campaign to get to the bottom of it. Now, I'm a sucker for good character design, and these orcs look badass. They're all influenced by their tribes and personalities, and these are just a few of my favorites so far. Now, if you're like me, sometimes you just need a good game to pass some time while you're on break at work or waiting for the weekly TWAB from Bungie. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you follow my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you can get started with a free bundle that's worth $30. This offer is only available for the next 30 days, so be sure to jump on it and get your free bundle now. Huge thanks to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the content. Alright, so if you guys have been subscribed to the channel for a while, you know I've been sort of evolving this Handheld Supernova build over the past couple of updates in Destiny 2. In Season of the Lost, we saw a lot of changes to Handheld Supernova in general, and then in the 30th anniversary update, we saw a bunch of changes to ability cooldowns, and finally now in the Witch Queen, we have Void 3.0 really taking this build to the next level. There's a lot of things that contribute to this. Not only is it the aspects and the fragments, but our exotic primary of choice is going to be much stronger than ever before due to that exotic primary buff that came with the Witch Queen. Now, the best part about this build is that it's really not too difficult to set up. There's not that many moving pieces, and once you get the ball rolling, it is so much fun, and you can just one-shot everything in front of you, and combined with Void 3.0, it's more explosive than ever, and actually viable in higher end content with some of the new survivability and fragments that we can take advantage of. So let's start right off by taking a look at the subclass and talking about the aspects and fragments we're going to want to be running. Right off the rip, looking at the super, we're going to be wanting to take Slova Bomb. This is the big Slova Bomb that explodes and sends out seekers everywhere. It does a ton of damage, and when it's combined with one of the seasonal mods we have access to, it's one of the highest damaging supers in the game right now. So definitely take Slova Bomb. But taking a look at our grenade of choice, we want to be running Magnetic Grenade. Now this entire build is going to center around Handheld Supernova, which is a bit different now in Void 3.0. If we take a look at the Chaos Accelerant aspect, this is the aspect that allows us to overcharge our grenades on Warlock. If you see right here, the Magnetic Grenade is what turns into the Handheld Supernova when we overcharge it. It's really unique. It's the only grenade that does this now, so you have to run Magnetic Grenade if you want Handheld Supernova. We're going to be pairing that with Child of the Old Gods. This shoots out the little Void Buddy whenever we drop our Rift. We'll fly out, weaken targets in front of us, and depending on which Rift we're running, it's going to give us different effects as well. We're going to be using Healing Rift, which is going to make it so that whenever Void Buddy is draining things, it's going to give us grenade and melee energy back. So that's going to be happening passively to give us our Supernova back as quick as possible. Looking at our fragments, we're going to take Echo of Expulsion, which makes our Void abilities blow up anything that it kills, adds that bloom effect whenever we defeat them. We're going to take Echo of Starvation, where picking up an Orb of Power grants Devour. This is one of the new fragments that just became unlocked after the Day 1 raid. And we're also going to take Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your Void weapons. This is another new fragment that was locked behind the raid, and holy crap is it powerful. So that's the rundown of the subclass. Let's take a look at the weapons and mods that we want to pair with the subclass. Now, starting off, the powerhouse behind this build is the Traveler's Chosen. This sidearm has always been an ability regenerating beast, but now it's even stronger thanks to that exotic primary buff. This is dealing 40% additional damage to miners. You can literally body shot miners and kill them with a sidearm. This thing is incredibly powerful, and it's going to give us our abilities back like crazy. It has the stacking buff Gathering Light that stacks up to 10 times. We can cash that in to get massive ability regen, so we always have uptime on our melee, rift, and grenade. And with the Catalyst, it gives it Osmosis, which is going to be incredible. Thanks to volatile rounds, we can now have a volatile Void Traveler's Chosen, making this thing an absolute beast and stronger than ever. We're going to be pairing that with Verity's Brow. This is a pretty complex exotic. If you see my past videos, you're probably familiar with how this works. This makes it so weapon final blows that match our subclass grant us a stack of death throws, which gives us a boost of grenade energy and gives us bonus grenade damage for each stack. This is going to go hand in hand with Handheld Supernova because we're going to get a ton of extra damage by having these stacks of death throws. It also has the benefit of whenever we use our grenade, it's going to buff everyone in our fire team and give them a chunk of grenade energy as well. A very powerful exotic to pair with Void 3.0. Now, if you look closely, you can see I'm actually using the Kinetic Siphon mod. This is a new mod that makes it so rapid kinetic weapon final blows create an orb of power. Now, if you remember back on our subclass, we're going to be taking that fragment that gives us Devour whenever we pick up an orb of power. That allows us to run the Child of the Old Gods and Chaos Accelerant aspects, but not miss out on Devour. It's really awesome. I love the new fragments that we just got. They're very, very strong. So now that we have the exotics and the subclass out of the way, let's take a look at the actual mods we're going to be running, because it's actually pretty simple to get this build set up properly. Now, the first mod on the list is the poster child of Season of the Risen, Elemental Ordnance. This makes it so anytime we get a grenade kill that matches our subclass, it's going to spawn an elemental well. Naturally, we're using Handheld Supernova, which does big damage. We can kill anything in front of us, basically, and spawn those elemental wells. We're going to be pairing that with one of my favorite mods, Bountiful Wells. This makes it so elemental well mods that cause you to spawn wells can now stack, spawning additional wells for each copy of the mod you have equipped, and it actually acts as a ditto, so it counts as a copy as well. To get the most out of that, we are going to run an additional copy of Elemental Ordnance. You can see I have 2 copies of Elemental Ordnance. I have it on my arms and on my legs, and I have Bountiful Wells on my chest piece. So when we use Handheld Supernova and get a kill, we're spawning 3 Void Elemental Wells. Each time we pick one of those up, that gives us a big chunk of ability energy back, so we can almost constantly have Handheld Supernova going. And if you're not quite there, you can always cash in your stacks on Traveler's Chosen to get you the rest of the way. Now, to push things a little bit further, we're going to want to take the mod Grenade Kickstart. This is a stasis element mod that can go on your arms. Whenever you throw out your grenade, it's actually going to start off by giving you a chunk of grenade energy right away. I'm sure you're sensing a theme here. We are doing everything in our power to get our grenade back as quick as possible, and can actually get pretty insane. You can almost throw out your Handheld Supernova, cash in Traveler's Chosen, and instantly have it back again. It's actually crazy. To flush out the rest of the build, we're going to be taking Font of Might, which is a 1-cost mod from the seasonal artifact this season. This makes it so whenever we pick up those Void Elemental Wells, we will get a weapon damage bonus of that same elemental type. Now remember, Traveler's Chosen also has Osmosis, so we're going to get a Void damage boost, and we're going to have volatile rounds all on that Traveler's Chosen sidearm. Looking at the class item, this is where I start to cram some things in. Now, this bond that I'm using here is an Artifice piece of armor. That means it has an extra slot for artifact mods. You can get this gear from the Grasp of Avarice dungeon on Master difficulty only. Any armor that drops on that difficulty will have this extra mod slot. You can see I've got this thing jam-packed with mods. This isn't completely necessary, but it is a really nice quality to have in your build. If you have room for it, I highly recommend using Devouring Depths. This is going to make it so casting your super while you have Devour active or while critically wounded is going to increase the damage of your super. And it's a 30% increase. It's actually a big damage boost to your super, and it can come in clutch in things like the new raid and higher end content. It really makes your super very, very powerful. We're also using overload grenades, and this works with Handheld Supernova. So you can shoot Handheld Supernova at an overload champion and stun them and lock them down. And finally, we're also using elemental armaments, which is going to make it so our Osmosis Traveler's Chosen, our special weapon, and our heavy weapon all have a chance to spawn Void Elemental Wells as well. You can see I'm also squeezing in Utility Kickstart to help lower the cooldown on our Rift a little bit so we can get the most out of Child of the Old Gods. Looking at our weapons, like I briefly just mentioned, you're going to want to run some Void Elemental weapons. I recommend things like Glacioclasm. This is a fantastic Void weapon that has Reservoir Burst. When you have volatile rounds going, you're going to get massive explosions from this thing. There's also a really unique weapon from Europa known as the Bone Chiller Slug Shotgun. This can get some really unique rolls as well. Mine has Triple Tap Demolitionist here, which is a great perk to have to get our grenade back really quickly as well. And of course, you want to run a Void Heavy. Something like Royal Entry is fantastic this season. That Void Rocket Launcher will benefit from Font of Might and Volatile Rounds for big, big damage. So I'm sure you can tell from the background footage, this is a very explosive build. You're just throwing out Handheld Supernova, blowing up everything in front of you, picking up wells, buffing your primary weapon, and you just rinse and repeat that cycle for huge damage. When you're moving up into that higher tier type of content, that's higher light level, you really want to take advantage of Child of the Old Gods to send out your Void Buddy to debuff those bigger targets before hitting them with Handheld Supernova so you can get the maximum damage possible out of your grenade. And keep in mind that Verity's Brow is constantly working for you as well. You want to make sure you have 5 stacks of death throws when you use Handheld Supernova, because that's boosting your damage as well. Real quick, as far as stats go, the real big one you want to aim for is 100 Discipline. This is going to obviously make it so we have the fastest cooldown possible on our grenade. And before you ask in the comments, the fragment that makes it so your Void Grenade debuffs targets, it will work with Handheld Supernova, but it doesn't debuff it as it hits the target. So it can feel a little bit clunky. You could hit it with Handheld Supernova and debuff it, and then use something else to finish it off. Or you could just use Child of the Old Gods to debuff it first, so you get big damage from our nuke, which is Handheld Supernova. So I recommend not using that fragment with this build, and it has that -20 discipline modifier on it, which is going to make it even harder to get your grenade back reliably. Now in standard fashion, running through the list of mods, just to give you that quick breakdown, we are running 2 stacks of Elemental Ordnance, we are using 1 Bountiful Wells, you're using 1 Font of Might, and 1 Elemental Armaments. If you have room for it, throw in things like Devouring Depths, Overload Grenades, and things like Grenade Kickstart to help us out with that grenade cooldown. This build is a ton of fun, and I'm so excited to see it really reach this final form in the Witch Queen with Void 3.0. If you're a fan of Handheld Supernova, you're going to love this build. It's explosive, does big damage, and has constant uptime on those abilities. So if you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor, leave a like down below, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.